Ah, bet you weren't expecting classical music. So let's get right in. Some people already know my opinion on this, but I'm still going to give it anyways. And I'm going to list pros, cons, and then give my final evaluation. So, Sneak Peek 1A is that replays and live replays now show the attacker's available troops so you can see exactly what does and does not get used. And then Sneak Peek 1 itself is that walls not only can be upgraded all at once, if you can select multiple walls to upgrade, but you can also choose whether to use elixir or to use gold to upgrade your walls. Now, just so I'm not showing you a bunch of still images, I'm actually going to play some Clan Wars replays that I haven't shown from my most recent Clan Wars in the background while I discuss this update. I'm going to be trying to do this for each of the sneak peeks. I'm told they're going to get good. So, I'm going to go ahead and start listing the pros. The two main pros I can think of for this update. Now, the 1A doesn't really matter. We're all fine with it, I'm sure. So I'm just going to talk about the part 1. The two pros I can think of are, first off, it gives us something to do with all this elixir. People are always complaining. I suffered through it too. Just full storages 24/7. And, well, full elixir storage, empty gold storage. So that'll definitely give us something to fix the imbalance between the fact that it costs about 3 billion gold to max your base and only a few 100 million elixir. Now, the second pro that I can think of is for people who rush their bases. This allows them to help get their walls back on course where they should be. So, those two things are the two biggest pros I can think of. And I'm going to list the two biggest cons I can think of and then give you my full opinion on it. And if you want to give your opinion on it, go ahead and post it in the comments. So, the biggest con I can think of for this update is that now that people will be dumping all their money into all their elixir into walls as well as gold, you're gonna actually start to probably see less elixir available on attacks. Sure, abandoned bases will be the same, but when you do attack players who aren't abandoned, you're not just gonna see low gold totals, you're also gonna see low elixir totals. And if we're hitting a gold shortage sometimes, I see people complaining about that, we may end up with an elixir shortage as well, because you're going to want to, before you go offline, dump most of your elixir and your gold into walls if you're not saving up for something else, and just leave yourself enough to build an army when you wake up so you can get back to farming. So people are going to be dumping even more resources into walls. And that actually brings me to the second point. People will have higher level walls. I mean, that sounds good on paper, right? You all want better walls if you're not already maxed like me. So basically, they're going to all dump their gold into walls and their elixir into walls just like you. But the only difference is, now you're going to be attacking other players. When you attack other active players, they're all going to have high level walls. After a few months, you're going to see a lot more players with level 9, 10, 11 walls in matchmaking and clan wars. And as you upgrade your walls, let's hope your skill level keeps up with the increase in base strength in your opponents in clan wars. Because if it doesn't, because you spend all your time farming, you're actually going to start losing your clan wars to people that do keep up with all of their upgrades. And you're going to see people being matched against other players who are now equal to them because these players were able to get better walls to catch up with them. But they're not going to have the skill to raid maxed out bases. So in matchmaking and clan wars, you're just going to see a lot more people with a lot stronger bases, and it's going to be tougher to raid. Now, for my opinion, I believe that this was not the best way to go about helping players get better walls. I'm all for helping players advance, but this was definitely not the best way to do it. Because, basically, you can almost say it might be a way for them to make more money, and that might be all that it is. Because here's what happens. The cost of gemming the walls to the maximum is still the same, no matter what resource it is. Now, players may experience more loot shortages, which in turn may make a fair amount of players boost their barracks, or now that it's easier, players will want to get level 10 or 11 walls who originally wanted to stop at 9, but they're gonna get a little bit impatient and boost as well. So Supercell will likely see an increased revenue from this. So it will do good for the players, but there were other options for them to do good for the players. Like, my first choice would have been making the next button cost elixir. It's the only thing on offense that costs gold. After they changed the spells from costing gold to elixir to balance everything out, everything but one thing, the next button. The next button is still gold. All your barracks, your army camps, your troop upgrades, your lab upgrade, those are all elixir. Even your spells are elixir and your spell upgrades are elixir, but your next button is gold. That eats up millions and millions and millions and millions of gold while you upgrade your walls, because you're hitting next so much to find good bases. So, if you change it to elixir, it won't be enough elixir that you will notice. You would probably still be stuck pretty close to maxed elixir, but then you'll have millions of extra gold over the course of the week to upgrade your walls with. They also could have changed the loot to make the loot itself better, or change league bonuses. I could go into detail on it. I've discussed it before. I'll probably discuss it in a later video. But there's a lot of other things they could have done besides making the walls cost elixir. Their defenses, they shouldn't cost elixir. I'm sure many of you will disagree with me. That's alright. But anyways, thanks for watching. And this is just my opinion.